So here we are, and we started with Suggestopedia, which is also called as Suggestopedia. We read about the reasons also behind the name, and then we talked about the originator of this method, who happened to be a psychiatrist by the name of Lozanov, right? Now, this method we have already discussed is based on the observation of the problem, okay, as the rest of the methods are also based on some observations. So this is based on the observation that there are certain psychological barriers to learning, okay. So he says that the reason of inefficiency of any of the teaching methods uh, for teaching language or for teaching anything, and he generally talks about any method of teaching, just not for the language teaching, but any method of teaching comes with the barriers. Those are psychological barriers. And what kind of barriers are these? These are barriers of fear, okay, that hinders language learning, specifically what we are dealing with, but they can hinder any kind of learning if such barriers exist, okay. So he says that a person is unable to use his full mental power if he is having these psychological barriers in the form of the fear, and that the fear is about unable to perform well, or the fear is of the failure to even learn, okay. So when someone has this in the mind that I'm not going to learn it, or I would fail to whatever I do, he's definitely going to fail. He's definitely would not be able to learn. So the method that Lozanov develops focuses on eliminating these barriers, and he starts it from, the way the classroom would look. Okay, he starts with the looks of the classroom. How would the classroom look to the students? Okay, so it's about suggesting few things. That is why it is called as Suggestopedia, and it is about desuggesting few things. Okay, desuggesting the fear and suggesting that people would be able to learn if this such barriers are removed. So this method is basically based on removing the barriers. Whatever we'll find this guy doing in the classrooms, um, he's only working with the barriers, okay. And in short, he's trying to make language learning or learning generally to be fun, okay. When there is no stress of evaluation, when there is no stress of doing homework, then when there is no stress of being judged at the end of learning, so then the student would learn more according to this person, this psychiatrist, according to his own theories, right? So in order to witness this method, we are going to visit a class in Egypt where the native language, of course, is told to us, because the native language will have its role in the classrooms, okay, is Arabic, right? Now, why native language has a role? Because the students and teachers are free. Whenever they would like to use the native language, they are allowed to. There is no, they are under no obligation to use the target language only. There are no punishments for using the mother tongue, right? So when the student feel the freedom to use any kind of language, and when they know that their mother tongue is at hand and it would help them in learning the second language, they have some helper in the form of their mother tongue, and there is no restriction in using them, so they'll feel more comfortable in the class, okay. All this method, the focus of this method is to make the students very comfortable, and to remove the stress of learning if there is any, right? So yesterday we looked at the class also. The class has a different kind of furniture. It has curtains, it has dim lights, and the students' arrangement is a bit different. They are in semicircle. They can see each other, and the teacher can see each of the student, right? And music plays a very important role. There are instruments also present in the class, and then this teacher selects the music to be played while she is teaching. Okay. Now, one more thing, in order to lessen this stress, as we also read yesterday, that the names of the students are changed. They are given new identity, and they are given new professions also. They choose their own professions, whatever they wanted to become or whatever they want to become. They choose their dream profession. So some people become pilots, and some people become engineers, and some people become whatever they wanted to, right? So the teacher tells them that you don't need to learn anything. You will naturally learn. This knowledge of the second language or English language would naturally come to you. You just sit back and enjoy. Okay. She actually tells this to the student. You just sit back and enjoy, and things would automatically happen for you, right? Now, the teacher puts on some music, okay, some recorded music, and then she asks the students to close their eyes. Just listen to the music, okay? So we have not seen it, and we will not see this happening in any of the classrooms, okay? In our real life situation also, in whatever we are doing in second language teaching, we would, and this language teaching methodologies, we will never witness such kind of a relaxed environment that is provided by Suggestopedia. The teacher plays the music, the lights are dim, and she asks them to close their eyes and breathe in and out, okay? And then she tells them to imagine themselves going to America, okay, whose language is being taught. She actually wants them to visit the country. And we already know that for peripheral learning, the class is well decorated. There are travel places of America that are shown in the chart, and then there are some grammatical structures also, okay? So student can look at them again and again. Now this would help them in imagining themselves visiting America, and the teacher becomes their guide. She describes the airplane, and then she describes the landing over there at the airport, and all of the students are listening to her, and this narration is going on in English, right? And then she slowly kind of wakes them up, and she asks them to open their eyes. Okay. Now, what happened here is that the student are learning the language through some narration. Okay. Now, this is a different thing, that how it is being narrated with the music, and the students are asked to close their eyes and imagine that they are somewhere else. So this makes them listen to the target language. Okay. They are sitting relaxed in their chairs. They are in an imaginary world. Okay. So see, Lozanov believes that when people are imagining themselves to be at another place, when people imagine themselves not to be themselves but have taken another identity, they learn better. Okay. They are not afraid that they would make a mistake, because the mistake would be made by someone else whose identity they have taken. Okay. And then initially, it's only the teacher who is reading. Okay. So basically what's happening in the classroom is learning is being made kind of fun. Okay. So it's all fun. It's happening in fun, and nothing serious is going on in the classroom. Now, when they open their eyes, So they have already, I told you that one of the activities is about getting their names and then their professions, and then introducing it through their new names and through their new professions, and the teacher does that. Now the teacher, the second activity that they are going to do, I think the third activity, that the teacher hands them over a handout. Okay, it has two parts we have discussed. One side is in English and the other side of the dialogue is in Arabic, and there are some additional notes also. If a particular word in English has a different kind of connotation than the dictionary meaning, it is also explained to them in Arabic. Okay, so the third activity that she does is, she gives them a book, and then there is presence of their mother tongue also, so they can always go back to their mother tongue whenever they feel difficulty in the target language. So this also reduces the stress of the students for learning. Okay, because in other methods where they are not allowed to use the mother tongue at all, right? So the situation becomes stressful whenever they would not be able to communicate in the target language, whenever they would have difficulty in understanding the target language, whenever they have difficulty in communicating in the target language, they do not have the mother tongue at hand to fall back on. Okay, but this is not the case in Suggestopedia. The written material also contain their mother tongue. They are allowed to speak in the mother tongue, and we observe that the teacher uses mother tongue whenever she likes to. Okay, she greets them. The class actually starts in Arabic, the mother tongue. Okay, so now the teacher again says, just enjoy, and then she plays the Mozart violin concert number 5. This is some kind of a music, and then after a couple of minutes she begins to read the text with the music. Still, it's the teacher who is reading the text, right? Okay, so when the teacher is reading, the students are just listening to the music. This is called as double playing. Okay, two plane learning, as we did some of the characteristics, and we are going to do that again. We are going to repeat that. Authority was one of them, infantilization was one of them, and then this one, double planeness. Okay, or learning at two planes in easier terms, right? So the teacher is reading with the music played in the background, and this music is actually selected. Okay, so these are not songs, these are just music. Okay, and then she very slowly, in a very slow pace, she starts reading, and she molds her intonation pattern with the music. Now the students are still not doing anything. The teacher reads the dialogues again. Now the students, in order to relax the students more, she asks them to put the books, so there is no burden on even of carrying the books in their hands. They just leave the handouts that is given to them. They are asked to close their eyes again and just listen to the dialogues of the teacher, right? Now she speaks at a normal rate. Previously she was very slow, because Mozart music, if you have ever listened to Mozart's violin, it's a very slow music. Okay, she was speaking with the pace of the music. Now she speaks the dialogues, she says the dialogues at a normal pace. Okay, and then she changes the music from Mozart to water music, and she makes no attempt this time to match her voice to the music. Now she's getting to a normal speaking of the dialogues. Now when she ends the second reading, the class is over. There is no homework assigned. See, in the first class, we have not seen students doing anything except for introducing themselves, and that too with another identity. And in that introduction, they are supposed to speak about two things. One is their new name, and the other is their new profession. Otherwise, the handout is prepared by the teacher. It is given to them. They don't do anything with it. Then it's the teacher who plays the music, and then the teacher reads the dialogue. The teacher changes the music. She reads the dialogue at a normal pace for the second time with the new music, and then with this the class gets over. Okay, no homework is given, but the students are asked, and request would be the right word here. The students are requested to read the dialogues, the ones that this teacher has read from the handout given, if they wish to. One thing, and then a particular time is given to them to read the dialogues when they are going to bed. Okay, and once when they get up. Right now, what is the significance of this time? The students are asked to, read the dialogues. No homework is given, but the students are requested to read the dialogues when they are trying to, sleep. What's the significance of the time of this homework? Yes, go to your chats and tell me why revise the dialogues at the sleep time. Yes, why revising dialogue at the sleep time? I hope you did not go to sleep. Okay, and how about, reading the dialogues at the sleep time? Okay, who else? Or, okay, what else? Okay, Minal is right. No, yeah, we are not talking about, forget this habit formation. We have done enough of it in audiolingual method. We are not talking about behaviorism anymore, Zahra. We are talking about some interesting things. Okay, now according to the belief of this psychiatrist Lozanov, he says that while a person is sleepy and he's about to sleep, there is a little difference left between his conscious and subconscious. Okay, the distinction becomes very blur between the conscious and the subconscious. So whatever is read at that time stays in the subconscious. Okay, in the conscious also, in the subconscious also. So it stays at two levels, right? So he says that it would be memorized 25 times better. It would stay in, the chances are that it would stay in the memory 25 times better than if a person learns it in a stressful situation in the morning hours, or if he is, under certain obligation of learning. Okay, so that is why every time, yeah, it would be the last time also, like in psychologically, Lozanov believes that there is a very blur uh, distinction between the conscious and the subconscious at that time. So uh, whatever is read or whatever is tried to be committed to the memory, it would stay longer. Okay. Now in the first class, the class went so well. The students did not do anything. They were just provided things: identity, book, music. It was read by the teacher. They did not even have to repeat it. They just had to listen to it. Now, what kind of a material it is? These are dialogues also. And then Lozanov says that there should be some, light-hearted stories as a form of text. Okay, even if you have to read the text in the classroom, those should be in the form of stories. Nothing serious, nothing literary with difficult language or anything from the newspaper or anything that is real, right? If you remember direct method, it makes use of realia. Not only that, but some real text is used in the classrooms. So Lozanov believes that uh, using fiction and fantasy would accelerate language learning. Okay, because the students would listen to it with more interest. Fantasy, of course, always attracts us, something that is fiction and fantasy. So he believes in making the classrooms very, very interesting for the students. Okay, and more work, is done by the teacher, and there is no pressure on the students to learn and produce the language. We have not seen them doing anything. Okay, so this author of this book, this is Larson. So Larson and the team decided to attend the other class, next class also, because they did not see much learning happening in the first class. Okay. Now, what happens in the next class? The teacher greets the students, and then they again repeat the same activity of introducing themselves, telling the name, their new identities, I mean, and then telling about their professions. Okay. Now the teacher asked them to take out their dialogue scripts, the one that are present both in English and their mother tongue Arabic. Now the teacher pulls out a hat from the bag and she wears it. Okay. And she takes the name of a character from the dialogue. Now, she wants the other students to wear the hats also. She has brought many hats in a bag. She distributes those hats, and this is really playful in the class. Okay, she's distributing the hats, and she is giving them, the activity, right? Now, the teacher turns to only 4 students who are wearing the hat, and then she asks them to read the dialogues of one of the characters. That means there were 4 characters in the dialogues that were selected for the practice today in the class, and all of them would be hearing hats. Hats are indicative of the identities that are present in the dialogues. Okay, and all of them would not be saying all the dialogues that we have seen happening in audiolingual method. Everyone saying every dialogue. No, they would select their characters and then they would say only that portion that their character is supposed to speak. Okay. Now they are going to imagine themselves that they are the characters whose hats they are wearing. Now when this activity is over with the 4 students, the teacher invites 4 more students who would do the same. They would wear the hats and they would say these dialogues. Now there would be a little transformation activity in the sense that the second group is asked to say the same dialogues in a sad way. Okay. And when it comes to the third group, they are asked to say the dialogues in an angry way, right? And then the last group would say the dialogue in a morose way. Okay. Now what do we learn from changing the ways? Why the teacher is teaching them to change the ways of saying the same dialogues? What do you think? What is being taught to them through this. The teacher teaches them. One group says it angrily, one group says it happily, one group says it with love, one group says it with, sadness. Why is that? Yes, go to your chats. Anyone? Why she's giving exactly? Okay, not exactly Faiz Batul. It is about telling them to say things according to the situation and feelings. Okay, what is sadness? It's a feeling. Okay, what is being angry? It's again a feeling. What is being amorous is again a feeling, right? So actually the actual human emotions are being taught to them so that they can say it, use the language with feelings. You must have seen that when people are using the target language, they cannot use it with emotions because they are unable to link emotions with the new language. Okay, yes, it is to relate the situation, also to give them expressions, to link their emotions with the language, to make them more expressive. Okay, right. Now the next activity the teacher brings to the class is again related to the dialogues, but because they are playing in the class, so she says that this would be audition, and you will be cast in one of the good plays on the TV. So you have to win this, you have to secure this role from the director. So she is making the environment a little competitive, but that's also for fun. Who would win the role? Okay, she's making it a little competitive this time, but that also playfully. And they should read the lines dramatically. Okay, like a drama, as if a drama is going on in the class. So the group of people read the dialogues in this way, and there are other groups also who uh, who utter these dialogues as if they are performing in a drama, right? I got you, Valia. I got you, Zehra, Aksa, and Fez, Adina, all of you. Yeah, I got your answers. Okay. So now we have moved to another, nothing serious is going on in the class. If they have to utter the dialogues also, that also dramatically. Okay. Creating a situation that they are giving audition, while they will not face this situation in real life. Okay. How many of them would go to give an audition? But they are just practicing dialogues in this way. Okay. Now what the teacher does is she asks questions about the dialogues, and then she also asks students to give her the English translation of an Arabic sentence and vice versa. And this is, we are learning about, this is the second method after grammar translation method that we are seeing a practice of translation happening here. Okay, otherwise in the rest of the methods we did not observe any such thing. So a translation goes on, and then she addresses a question from a dialogue to an individual student. She converses both in Arabic and English, and they're trying to translate the dialogues also from one language, from L1 to L2 and L2 to L1, both. Okay, next is another game. She plays a song this time. Okay, and that's a children alphabet song through which they learn some alphabets and some names also, but that's also a fun activity, just listening to English alphabets in a fun way, in a playful way, right? For instance, the song goes as A, my name is Alice, my husband's name is Alex, we live in America. So all A's, the husband, wife, and the place. Then it's Barbara, Bert, and Brazil, and they sell books, right? So the students are clapping and they are laughing at this song and they are enjoying, right? Now she introduces, after this they are not doing activities, they are playing different games basically. So another game is she brings a ball. Okay, she takes out a ball from her bag and she throws it to a student. Okay, and that's of course it's a soft ball, and then the student gets up, right? So whoever catches this ball, he has to introduce himself. Okay, she throws the ball to one student, and while she's throwing it, she asks him what his name is in English. The one who catches the ball, he only tells him her the name. My name is Richard. Now that student is supposed to throw the ball to another student, okay, and then ask other question. Now they have learned only 2 questions since we have seen them in the beginning of the class. They know their names as new identities and they know the profession. Now this person who has taken the English name Richard, she throws the ball and the student who catches the ball is asked by Richard about his profession. Okay, what do you do? So then the student answers, and this is how the game continues in this manner. Now here we come to know that the student commits a mistake in putting the question. For instance, instead of saying what you do, what do you do, he says what you do. Now this is just to show us the response of the teacher to these errors. Okay, as in some of the previous methods we studied that there is no tolerance for the errors. The errors should be immediately corrected, but here, since correction also stresses the students, okay, immediate correction or immediately telling someone that they are wrong, so that might be stressful. So we see here that the teacher does not pay much attention to error correction, but whenever she gets the time, for instance, whenever she gets the ball back and she's supposed to ask the question, so she would correct it then. What do you do? Instead of, what you do, what do you do? So the teacher corrects it, the student listen to it, and he knows that he's corrected, but indirectly, right? The student is not directly corrected. He's not told that you have committed this mistake and the dialogue is not this but should be uttered like this. Nothing is said, except when it is teacher's turn, she repeats the correct form of the dialogue. Now this class also gets over with these games, and no homework is assigned, and the students are asked to read the dialogue if they wish to, and preferably while when they are going to bed. Now in the 3rd class, the students continue to work on the dialogue, and they will move away from reading it, however, and move towards using the new language in a creative way. So probably they would be doing some substitution or transformation games. There would be competitive games also. They would do role plays as well. So many dramatic things would be happening in the class. Okay. And they would be learning about new dialogues, but in a similar way, right? So these are the activities that took place in order to teach through Suggestopedia, right? Now let's come to some of the principles. There are a number of principles. We'll cover some of them. For instance, the first observation that we come across is the different kind of a classroom, the unusual classroom. Okay, so we can get the principle that learning of a language becomes easier when the environment is comfortable. Okay, learners learn the language quicker and easily if the learning environment is relaxing and comfortable. Now A second observation that we have seen in the classroom is the decoration of the class, which consists of many charts, and then there are charts with some English structures also. This is called as peripheral learning. A student can learn from what is present in the environment, and that they see every time that they enter the class. Okay, so if they are not um, intentionally learning, or they are not directly learning, they are still learning. Okay, and these charts are, if a teacher is teaching them a different pattern, these charts would be changed after some time, but they stay there. Okay, this type of learning is called as peripheral learning or the indirect learning, when the aim is not learning, but still the students would learn. So this is called as peripheral learning. The teacher tells them that they don't need to worry, and they will learn it automatically and naturally, and the teacher does not give them any homework also. So if a student trust and respect the teacher's authority, he accepts and retain information better. Okay, so when a teacher keeps on reassuring them, the student would learn better, because they actually start trusting the teacher, and they trust that whatever the teacher has said, that they would learn the language easily, they will. Okay, the teacher keeps on telling them that learning a second language is enjoyable, right? So this would actually remove some of their psychological barriers also, because the teacher is reassuring them, and the teacher says that learning is enjoyable, it comes automatically, they don't need to work hard. So basically she's de-suggesting these barriers. Okay, the teacher takes them to an imaginary trip to the US. So this gives us a principle that activating students' imagination improves learning. Imagination acts as a learning aid for the students, right? The teacher, tries to improve and enhance students' confidence, right? And we talked about the self-esteem also. So self-esteem basically is raised, their confidence is raised, and those would help the student overcome the barriers if there are any. Okay, learning barriers are removed when students are confident. These barriers are overcome when the self-esteem of the student is continuously being raised by the teacher. Okay, we do not find any threat within the environment of Suggestopedia, right? And then I've already told you that when they assume new identities, they feel more secure. Okay, and there is less inhibition, and they perform as uh, other person is performing instead of themselves. So they are not even afraid of committing errors and making mistakes, because they assume that someone else is doing it, they are not the ones. Okay, now the dialogues that the students learn, of course, they contain the language, and those dialogues can be used immediately. For instance, telling someone names and telling what they do, or asking someone about their profession, are the usual initial dialogues. Okay, uh, the students make use of, there is a lot of use of the music in the classrooms, and then they are told that they are at a party where they are introducing each other. So when their attention is off the form of the language or the process of communication, and they know that it is happening as a chit chat, so it is assumed that they would perform better. Now the teacher, while giving them the handouts, we already discussed that she utters the dialogue: to want to is to be able to. That is, if you want to learn, you would learn. It's about when you wish to do something, you would be able to. There is no limit to what you can do. So telling them such encouraging sentences in English and translating them in Arabic in order to make it even clearer, those encouraging sentences, of course, enhances their language learning ability. Now the teacher does not tell them exclusively about some of the rules or the vocabulary, but they are made part of the dialogues. Okay. Now this mother tongue, I told you that the translation is at hand, and it is always very, very helpful, okay, to make the meaning clear. When students have their translation in hand and they are also allowed to speak in Arabic, their mother tongue, they are permitted to discuss things with the teacher in Arabic, so they feel more comfortable. Okay, so the teacher reads the dialogue. We found her reading the dialogue with the music, and she tries to match her volume and intonation with the music. So this is called as learning at two planes, right? One, the students are getting two things from this, while the teacher has a background music and she is reading the dialogues. Now, what is happening in these two planes is, one is the linguistic plane. Okay, the students are listening to the linguistic message, and on the other hand, on the subconscious plane, they are listening to the music, which is pleasant. Okay, so when there is a unity between the conscious and a subconscious, learning is enhanced. Consciously, they are listening to the dialogues that the teacher is reading, and subconsciously they are hearing the music, the background music. So they are learning the language at two levels. Okay, so there's conscious and there's subconscious, and then there is a unity because both the things are happening at the same time, the music and the dialogues. Okay, now the students are asked to close their eyes, and it is the teacher who is reading dialogues with the music. So the students are in a pseudo passive state, it is called, right? So in such a state where they are like sitting idle and listening to music, so it reduces their psychological barrier. Okay, and it increases their learning potential, according to Lozanov, the psychiatrist. Now, homework is not given. Of course, it reduces the stress, and there is no pressure on these learners to learn the dialogue by tomorrow. There's no deadline given. One day they are told that they can read the dialogues while they are going to bed, and if they don't read it, it's okay. In the next class, we see the teacher telling them that there is no homework, but they can read the dialogue if they wish to. Okay. Then we saw the auditioning activity. The teacher tells them to pretend. Okay. Now, when the students are pretending, when they are not actually auditioning, or when they are not really going to be selected or not selected by the director, what it does is they are doing something at a subconscious level. So it is about art. Drama is art. So this art, this music, this drama, this fine art is integrated with learning. Okay, and this becomes a part of the teaching process, right? One thing they only have to pretend. The next thing is it's part of art, like music, like drama. Okay, so it makes the teaching process, it integrates. The drama is integrated in the teaching process, let's put it this way. Okay, the teacher of course has to teach the material also, so she involves them in question answer session. Okay, they discuss the dialogues basically, and they don't repeat it, and they are doing new dialogues every day. So basically novelty aids acquisition. One thing is, when they are changing the dialogue every day, the teacher asks questions about the dialogues and they are doing different activities with the dialogue, they're not repeating this. Okay, they don't repeat the dialogues. Now what happens is when they're doing new dialogues every day, this takes away boredom from the classrooms. Okay, it aids, novelty aids in acquisition. They're learning newer things every time. Now lastly, we saw that the students were listening to the children's song. Okay, this is called as infantilization. Okay, infantilization is behaving like children because we saw them clapping and laughing and listening to this alphabetical music of the children. This is called as infantilization, acting like children, right? And in this way, the teacher becomes a parent and the students become uh, the child or the children. So this is called as the technique of infantilization, right? So we saw there was a question answer session also, but it was in the atmosphere of play. The conscious attention of the learners, they were not focusing on the linguistic forms, but they were learning how language, using language learning as fun. Okay, because from the very beginning, the fear of making errors is taken away from the whole process. Okay, so all of this has become fun. Finally, how are errors corrected? Now errors are taken seriously. I wouldn't say they are not taken seriously, but they are not immediately corrected. Errors are tolerated, unlike in the rest of the methods. So the emphasis is on the content and the form, and the teacher corrects the errors, but not immediately. She can wait, and she corrects the error in a way that the student who has made the error is not offended. She corrects it by herself. It is not self-correction by the student. The error is corrected by the teacher in a way that the student does not feel bad about it. Okay, so that's all from the Suggestopedia. We look at some more aspect of it, some of the criticism on Suggestopedia next week when we will meet. Okay, I've not finalized your day for the exam, but definitely it would be somewhere next week. Okay, so I'll be in touch with your CR about the procedure and about anything else related to your paper, and we'll talk about it. Fezbatul, what have you sent here? What link is it? Maybe. Okay.